this was wild. This was
Yeah, dude.
wild. We've seen this in movies over the years, but we didn't
Hmm.
see it like this. This was
No.
absolutely brutal. You see the crowd, you
Hmm.
see his mom, you see Mary Magdalene almost passing out. Hello, friends. I'm Anderson Marchak,
And I'm Ricardo Segura.
and we are the Panel Bros. Welcome to the panel.
Welcome to the panel. Yeah.
Well, here we are.
Oh, yeah. Yup.
All right, folks. If you are watching or listening in real time, as of this recording, it is late March. It is Easter time.
Hmm.
And this episode's going to go up Easter weekend. And Ricardo and we've talked about this movie at length over the years because of just how special and significant and historical this
Yeah.
movie was. And you know what? It was time to bring it to the podcast. So, yeah, let's
Oh, buddy.
yeah, let's get this intro going here. Okay, so this movie was directed by Mel Gibson,
Hmm.
and it was released February the 25th of 2004. Today, the Pana Bros are going to do a breakdown for the Passion of the Christ.
Brother, when you listen, that movie came out in 2004.
Yeah.
I told you, and I'm letting everyone know now, the last time I seen this movie was 2004. Like,
Mhm.
I was 19 years old the last time I saw this film. So when we discussed the possibility of doing this, I was almost a little cautious because I remember my experience watching it the first time, because again, this was an experience. This was seeing this type of a movie in a packed theater, which just an experience in itself. And I was like, oh man, like I haven't seen this movie in many, many years. How am I going to feel watching it again? How am I going to feel watching this movie at this point in my life? How am I going to feel watching this movie as someone who loves film now, and studies it a little bit more than I did when I was 19? Just all these variables came into play, but I was ready for us to go into it. And again, I just remember like the experience. Let me just paint a picture really quick and then we'll get on with it. And I told this to you as well, was I remember seeing this in a theater, and it was a packed house, wall to wall, elbow to elbow, if you will. And this was the first time I had ever been to a movie in the theater where they didn't show a single trailer.
Yeah.
I had never experienced that. We all sat down. The screen was off. Walked in. I noticed the screen was off. I was like, huh, that's weird. We all sat down. And as soon as the showtime, let's say it was 7:30 p.m., as soon as it hit 7:30, the lights just went out and the movie started.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, whoa, like I was like, this is an event. You know what I mean? Like they didn't want anything connected, nothing tied in. We're not gonna, lead you up with trailers for movies that are coming out. Like, no, just you're in. And I remember throughout the movie, just like everyone was just so locked in. And I'll explain more of that experience later, but I do want to say that when we left, it's the first time I've ever exited a movie where there wasn't a peep. Nobody spoke. Everyone just got up from their chairs, walked to the door, walked to their car, and that was it. And I made a joke to some people. I said, you can tell who came out of the theater and just watched The Passion of the Christ. So, well, how do you tell? I'm like, you see that group over there? Everyone's coming out all chattery. They didn't do it. I said, you see that group over there? Where everyone's kind of walking with their heads down and you just hear sniffling and no talking. That just came out of The Passion of the Christ right there, man. Yeah, what an experience, man.
Yeah, it was an experience. And just talking with you off the air before we started, like all these memories just started rushing back from seeing it. And it was an event film. There we go. We can say it. It was an event film. And we're just going to get to this breakdown here and just discuss the film and, the impact it had on Hollywood and the culture and such. So
I mean, yeah, and I'll say this last piece before we start. Like,
Yeah,
you had Mel Gibson at the time, who was like big league. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
this is Mel Gibson, who was getting, you know, attention for being a great director, and all of a sudden he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing Passion of the Christ," and you're like, Mel Gibson's doing what?
yeah,
What? And I remember at the time thinking like, "Oh man, like this is gonna be a big deal. Like, it's Mel Gibson directing this thing," and it was. So yeah, go ahead.
yeah, definitely. All right, here we are with our plot. Opening card, it says, "He was wounded for our transgressions, crushed for our iniquities. By his wounds we are healed." That's Isaiah 53, and they quoted us 700 BC. So a little biblical knowledge here. Um, a big part, this is biblically speaking, we're not talking historically speaking, but biblically
Mhm.
speaking, uh, Jesus himself, everything that happened with Jesus was due to a prophecy.
Yeah.
Prophecy being told in the Old Testament, and this was about said prophecy. So we're going to get to that prophecy in a little bit. Just wanted to fill you guys in why quoting Isaiah was integral
Mhm.
for the beginning of the movie. So those of you that aren't aware of this, Isaiah's in the Old Testament. This was many years before Jesus was even born. So the prophet Isaiah was stating what would happen to the Messiah when they come. So that
Mhm.
was the significance there. All right. So on the night of Passover, Jesus prays in Gethsemane, asking for his Father to protect him as his followers, Peter, James, and John, fall asleep. After Jesus rebukes Satan for tempting him to escape his fate, another of his followers, Judas Iscariot, is bribed by Caiaphas and the Pharisees with 30 pieces of silver to lead temple guards to the garden and betray Jesus' identity. So let's talk about this opening scene here.
Yeah.
It's a blue light.
Mhm.
Jesus is scolding his disciples for falling asleep. So the story is that they're supposed to keep watch while he prayed because he has a feeling of what's going to happen. That this is the story is really interesting.
Mhm.
As Jesus became older, he started to understand what was going to happen to him. The prophecy was going to come to pass. So he felt like his time was coming soon. So on this night, he's telling, the disciples, "Hey, all you need to do is keep watch for me. I'm going to be over here praying." And they just kept falling asleep. So he's yelling at them. Gibson chose to visualize the blood on Jesus' face. The Bible says that Jesus was under so much stress and anxiety that he sweat blood.
Mhm.
So in Luke, it says, "And being in agony, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was as it were great drops of blood falling to the ground." Luke 22:44. So it's actually pulled directly from the Bible. Um, there are medical doctors that have addressed this over the
Mhm.
years, and said, you can be that stressed that
That's
that
crazy.
blood will come out of your pores and perspire. So I think that's really interesting. So Jesus knew that this was coming. He asked God to save him from this if it's possible. Satan tempts Jesus while he prays, "I can make all this go away." And then, Satan asks Jesus who his father is.
Mhm.
"Who are you?" He's taunting him.
Yeah.
Well, excuse me, they are taunting him.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
Satan, that they are taunting him. So Jesus stomps a snake, big visual here. This is a visual callback to Genesis when God tells Lucifer what Eve's offspring will do. God tells Eve that your descendants will stomp the head of the serpent and the snakes. It's really cool. A lot of callbacks
Oh,
here.
yeah.
It's really cool. Um, so your thoughts on this opening scene where Jesus is praying?
Look, man, and my first takeaway now, because and I told you when I was 19 watching this, I was so just caught up in the story of what was being told that I didn't appreciate a lot of the technical applications. And I want to give a major shout out to the DP, whose name is Caleb Deschanel. The cinematography in this opener is fantastic. Like, I remember being like, Oh, and I use the term with you off the air, graphic novel. When you see
Mm,
a graphic novel, and you got this great imagery and you got this great artistry, and then when you see someone able to take that artistry and put it on the big screen, that's what it felt like. Like there were just some shots, the way that it was lit, using the blue of the moon and the shadows, and you have Jim Caviezel playing Jesus, and there's just these shots where he's making eye contact with someone, but it's so deliberate in a way that it feels like he's looking through the lens at us. Like the cinematography for this opener is just so well done. I'm also really happy that the movie's not in English. I love that.
yeah.
And I remember the first time when I saw the movie, I was not aware of this. Um, because if I remember correctly, the trailers didn't necessarily push a lot of dialogue. It was just very much like, hey, this movie's being made. It's the Passion of the Christ and whatever. So this whole opening act, I really appreciated that it is not English. I believe we start in Aramaic,
Aramaic,
um,
very good. Yeah.
Aramaic, and then there's Latin and Hebrew throughout the film.
Yes.
But I believe in the beginning it's Aramaic, and just appreciating that. And also, it's our first look at Jim Caviezel as Jesus, and like the
Yes.
prosthetics that they used, like it's very reminiscent of every painting you've ever seen that has been sold in a store or somewhere. Like they went out of the way to make him match as close as possible. And it almost felt like seeing a graphic novel character. You know what I mean? It's like, whoa, this is crazy. Great look, but again, my biggest takeaway from this opening was the cinematography, man. Caleb Deschanel, director of photography, dude, you did an amazing job. It looks incredible. And again, you can tell it's a set. You can tell, but in a way that almost adds to the charm of what you're filming, right? Like we grew up with older movies where you got practical set designs and everything. And I always appreciate a practical set design versus a green screen or a blue screen, because at least with a practical set design, I can feel it. Like I know it's
Right.
there. And just the way they use these characters in these shots, as well as the trees, as the shadows, as almost creating like the moon as a separate character in the way he interacts with the moon and looking up the sky. Just oh my god, man! Like cinematography wise, this thing looks gorgeous.
Well, this I may be wrong here, but this was probably the first time in years that a major motion picture
Hmm.
depicted Jesus.
Yeah, yeah.
So, um,
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know before then, but we're looking all the way back to 1988, The Last Temptation of Christ.
Yeah,
Um, Willem Dafoe. It's a Martin Scorsese film, very controversial
yeah,
in its
yeah,
own right, but that was Scorsese's take. This is an actual straight biblical take,
yeah.
and through Gibson's eyes, which we will get to. So
Yes.
they needed to bring it from the beginning, and they do,
Oh
obviously.
yeah, yeah. It felt like the first. It felt like, again, you're talking about 1988. There's a lot of changes in technicality, and
Yeah,
it felt like, oh wow, this movie's got an amazing budget. You know what I mean? Like it
right,
felt big. It felt big in scale, even though we're just on this small set.
right, and I'm not saying nothing came out. We're talking like straight to DVD,
Mhm.
straight to VHS,
Yeah,
possibly.
yeah.
Straight
This is
to
back then when I
TV.
think that, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think this was back when we still had TV made movies. Yeah,
Right. So, but a major motion
yeah,
picture, tackling the story of Jesus, probably a very long time. So they needed to bring it.
yeah.
So we all know the story. Judas identifies Jesus with a kiss. He says, Judas,
Ooh.
are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss? And he kisses
Hmm.
him. They visualize Peter slicing off a guard's ear.
Yeah.
Jesus famously says, "Those who live by the sword will die by the
Die by the
sword."
sword. Yep.
Oh, such a great line. And he rebukes Peter, and it's so powerful. This is where we start, like Gibson from the start, just tries to show Jesus's humanity.
Hmm.
And he looks at the guard who's there to capture him. He
Yeah.
takes the ear from off the ground and he puts it back on his head and he heals him. This is what the Bible
Yeah.
story says. You know, he knows that this man is here to take him away, him and all the other guards, and he yells at the guy trying to save him.
Yeah. Yep.
You
He's
know?
like, "Put the sword down, brother,"
Yes.
and he heals this guard, and the guard is shook, man.
Yeah. He
Like,
doesn't know what to make of
the
everything.
guard is like, "Wait a minute. We're here to come get this guy who is a false prophet, spreading lies, blah, 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 blah," and he's like, "Wait a minute. This dude just healed my ear." everything's questioned now. Like, yeah,
Right.
it's really
Yeah. Oh, and I like you hear the little like E sound,
oh yeah, 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 yeah.
the little high pitched sound. From here, you're already starting to see the performance that Caviezel
Oh
is
yeah.
bringing with this, and we will talk about that for
Oh
sure.
yeah.
Because the story of Jesus is that he's both the lion and the lamb. He's
Mhm.
both, So in one hand, he's chastising Peter for saving him, but in the other hand, he comes back to being gentle and just letting the guy know, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
You're all right. Don't worry about it. It's so cool
Yeah.
the way
Good scene.
the way Caviezel did that there, and Gibson, of course. So the guards arrest Jesus, and then they start beating him,
Oh
beating
yeah.
him a lot. They beat him on the way to Sanhedrin. That's where he's gonna stand trial with the Jewish people. John, the disciple, informs Jesus' mother Mary
Mhm.
and Mary Magdalene of the arrest. Another high-profile actor here. We
Ooh.
have,
Oh yeah.
Monica Bellucci playing Mary
Monica
Magdalene.
Bellucci, man.
And
Yep.
talk to her fresh off of the Matrix movie,
Yeah.
Matrix Reloaded. And, they reunite with Peter, who has followed Jesus and his captors. Um, and then now we start seeing the liberties that Gibson
Yeah.
takes with this story. Is this in the Bible where Jesus gets thrown over the bridge and the chains hang him? Absolutely not.
No.
So, a lot
Like
of this. Yeah.
they're adding elements, especially when it comes to the like whoo, like with the stuff with Judas, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But like Mel specifically put this scene in there just to see Judas' reaction again, where like he's
Right.
being beat and he's thrown over a bridge and he's hanging with the chains just so he can make eye contact with Judas, and Judas is still just like, oh my god, what have I done? But yeah,
Right.
it's like, oh my god.
Right. So him and Judas see one another, and then we get a demon jump scare.
Listen, listen. I again, I haven't seen this in a very long time.
Yeah.
So I'm watching it and I'm like, I forgot there's a jump scare.
Yeah.
And I went, wait a minute. I was like, is Mel Gibson gonna lean into some horror in this movie?
I think he does.
And he does. There's a couple times, and we'll get to it.
Yeah,
But there's a couple times where there's some horror elements in the sense of like jump scare. You know what I mean? Like
right.
just
Yeah.
like, jump scare,
Well,
jump scare.
well, we already got that eerie scene with Satan.
Oh yeah.
And then the
yeah.
snake is coming up, so that's kind of scary in itself,
Mhm.
and then but here, this thing just jumps out and it's,
Yep.
Judas runs away, but it's laying the groundwork for the torment that Judas is going to go through because of the
Yeah.
decision he made, betraying Jesus. This was the beginning of showcasing Judas and the guilt
Yeah,
that
the
he
guilt. Yeah.
endured, and I'm going to talk about that later. We're going to touch on that. So as Jesus is brought to trial, we start seeing flashbacks. We get the first one between Jesus and his mother. It's nice. He's making a table.
I like this scene a
Yeah,
lot.
it's great. So, Gibson
This is good.
establishes the relationship between Mary and his mother, his mother, and Jesus. He wants you to feel the weight of what she went through, you
Mhm.
know? Yeah. So you were saying about the flashback with the table.
Dude, it's probably the only part in the movie where we get to have a smile and joy, right? Like it's probably the only one. Everything after this is just violence and everything else. But it's a reminder, like he's a carpenter, right? Like you see him making the table and whatnot, and you get this like little humorous banter between the two, so you can see their relationship. And she's like, it's kind of a high table. And he kind of pretends to sit and he goes, high table requires high chairs. And she sits, she goes, this will never catch on. And they're joking. And she's like, I'll come inside to eat. And she's like, wash your hands. And it's just cute. Like it's this great relationship between the two. And again, I'm glad we got it because it's a really, really sweet scene.
And here we go again. Gibson hinting at the fact that Jesus invented the concept of high tables and high chairs.
High table. Yeah. He's like, it wasn't enough to just have him be like, hey, I'm gonna show you he's a carpenter and he's making tables. He's like, no, guess what? High chairs and high tables. Yeah, boy, Jesus. Mel was like, I'm gonna put that in the movie.
Yeah. So, Mary, she says it herself. She says it has begun, Lord, because she knows what's coming.
Yeah.
So, she thinks she knows what's coming, so to speak. So Caiaphas, the high priest, tries Jesus, where false accusations are made against him. And priests and Pharisees who secretly support Jesus and object to the trial, they're expelled from the court. Jesus claims he is the divine Son of Man, causing Caiaphas to angrily condemn him to death for blasphemy. So let's talk about this scene here.
Yeah.
So Jesus has been speaking about being the Messiah. This is the Savior to the people, and about rebuilding the temple. Long story short, he has been speaking out against the traditions of Judaism, and he has been saying that the prophecy has been fulfilled through him. So we go back to the prophecy. It was said that a Messiah would come, and the Messiah would be their savior. But no one ever thought that a human being, a person, would start saying that they're the Messiah. They're thinking that, the Messiah is going to come from the clouds. I don't know what they thought, the Messiah would be. So, he calls himself the King of the Jews. He's saying he is the Son of God. This is bad. This is very bad in Judaism because it is blasphemy. Let's take a look here. He asks him, "Are you the Messiah?" He says, "I am. And you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming on the cloud of heaven." They all scream blasphemy. And to showcase how serious of a crime it was to the Jewish people, he tears his robe. And this is a cultural reaction to blasphemy. It wasn't just him being overdramatic. If they know someone is blaspheming, speaking out as a heretic, so to speak, which, by the way, folks, Jesus was a heretic, according to sorry to burst the bubble.
Yeah.
He was a heretic. So, just speaking out against, the traditional faith at the time. As Jesus is brutally beaten, Peter is confronted by the mob, and he denies being a follower of Jesus. Remembering Jesus precisely predicting this, he weeps bitterly. He says, "I've betrayed him," and he runs away. "I've denied him, mother," and he runs away. Infamous story here. He told Peter before the sun rises, before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times. There's a story where he's saying, "No, Lord, I'll follow you to the end." And he looks at him, and the story says, no, Jesus says, no, you say you'll follow me to the end. Guess what? Before the sun comes up and the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times. And it happens,
It's I remember watching it for the first time and being so upset, even though it was something that we were aware of the story, but like you're seeing it play out as characters on a movie, and you kind of see the performances. And up to that point, you see Peter willing to fight for Jesus. He's got the blade, he's ready to kill for Jesus. And Jesus is like, "Nah, man, drop it." And he drops it. So you see, like, he's willing to go so far. And then when pressed in front of all these people and like, "Oh no, I've seen you. You follow Jesus. You're one of his people. I've seen." He's like, "No, no." And he denies him 3 times. And they put this shot in the movie where after the 3rd time, Jim Caviezel, again, doing some eye acting, just rolls his head over and just makes eye contact with him. And Peter just like loses it, just emotionally weeps and breaks. And it's such a great visual to have. Again, there's a lot of things that I didn't really appreciate when I was 19 because I'm just so drawn into the story. But now I'm watching, I'm like, man, like these are good decisions. But that was a rough scene because your boy said, "I don't know him," 3 times.
Yeah. So, guilt-ridden, Judas attempts to return the money to have Jesus freed, but is refused by the priest. Like, "Listen, that's your affair.
Yeah, brother.
We already paid you."
Yep. He's like, "Look, man, if you feel guilt, that's on you.
Yeah.
Keep the money, get out of here."
Haunted by demons in the form of children and Satan who makes an appearance, Judas hangs himself outside Jerusalem. So let's talk about this.
Oh, yeah.
From the minute he sees Jesus, so Gibson takes another approach here, Judas develops a tick of rubbing his lips. And this is, I don't know anything historically about this. I've never read about this anywhere. It was just either the actor or Gibson told Judas to create some type of tick to showcase that the thing that he's going through. So he starts rubbing his lips, and by the time he starts being tormented and such, like it looks like he's
Yeah.
bleeding, from
Yeah.
his lips. Um, Not much is stated about Judas in the Bible after this time. I have seen films where he is often portrayed as a mustache twirling villain.
Hmm.
Before this,
Yeah.
um, Gibson showcases the turmoil that this man went through. He showcased the demons tormenting Judas. And let's talk about that here. We see the kids, and then all of a sudden it switches, then they have the ugly faces, they
Yeah,
get this
dude.
the
Like,
fake eye. Yeah.
again, I did not expect these horror like moments in this
Right.
movie, because again, at the movies in the theater, I was like taken back. I was like, whoa. Like the first jump scare that we had with a demonic entity, and I was like, that was kind of scary. And obviously the sound design, the score plays a role as well.
Right.
And now you had these kids that are kind of just like, hey, what's wrong with you, and he's shooing them off, and they're like, oh no, he's cursed. And they're like, what? And they're like spitting on Judas and attacking him, and then like their faces turn demonic, like a full white eye, ugly teeth, deformed faces, and it's like, whoa. Like I remember it was jarring,
Right.
and I forgot all about it, and I'm watching it recently now to so we can discuss it, and I'm just like, whoa. And again, it was Mel's way of trying to visualize the guilt, because he could have very easily just shown Judas as a character being remorseful, feeling guilt, just being like, what have I done? Like he could have kept it, that way, but he was like, no, he wanted to add, and this is where, like we said earlier, this is where Mel is adding his flavor. Like Mel's like, oh no, I want this. Like I could see Mel being like, this is what I want. I want it to, like, he's being tormented by actual demons, and I want this and that.
Right.
And I remember talking to some people, and they were just like, back in the day, my mom was an avid churchgoer, and she was like, I don't think that was like that. I don't think there was demons torment. I think he just had guilt. And I said, yeah. I said, but this is Mel doing Mel. Like Mel's going to do Mel
Right.
and put his things
Exactly.
in. Like you got, because we have to understand too, like Mel is also like a director and actor. So for him, he's like, what can I add to this movie to quote unquote spice up these emotions so people can really, really visualize this
Right.
torment? And you have Lucifer walking around Judas, you have the children torturing Judas, and to the point where Judas just cannot handle it anymore and takes his own life.
Exactly. And I remember the first time I saw this, and I told you, beforehand, I said, uh, Judas is always portrayed as like a bad guy in
Mhm.
this story. And for the first time, am I actually feeling bad for Judas?
Yeah, like
Like, do I
you
feel
almost
bad? Like, oh my gosh, he regrets it immediately.
yeah,
What tempted him? Was it
yeah.
money? What possessed this man to make this decision? So, I wanted to leave you guys, and we're not going to talk about it here, but there is a theological and philosophical discussion about Judas,
Mhm.
both biblically and historically. Because if this was meant to happen, if Jesus was the Messiah and he
Mhm.
was meant to be sacrificed, then it was meant to happen, and that
Yeah,
Judas was always going to do it. Or
yeah,
what did this happen by design?
yeah,
It's something
yeah.
to think about.
That's a big discussion. Yeah.
Yeah. So, let's get our first screen share here, and folks, there's not going to be many because
Yeah,
this is a pretty
we can't,
violent.
we
Yeah,
can't.
yeah. So here we go. We got the leaders here. We got Satan back there. So Jesus is brought to be condemned to death by Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor of Judea. So a little historical lesson here. The Jewish leaders did not have authority to pass harsh judgment on their people. They were in charge of their people, but the Romans, they were the overarching government in
Yeah.
charge of everybody. So it was kind of like, hey, we're in charge, but if there's like little things going on, we'll let you guys handle that. But you can't condemn anybody. It's a major disciplinary action, so to
Mhm.
speak. So at the urging of his wife Claudia, Pilate questions Jesus and finds no fault in him, transfer him to, transferring him to the court of Herod Antipas, since Jesus is from Antipas domain of Galilee. So they're kind of like doing things by the book. Well, he's from there. Let's let that leader decide, you know?
Mhm.
When Antipas deems Jesus harmless and returns him, like he thinks he's crazy, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, he
He's like,
says it. He's like, "This guy is not no, this
yeah,
he's just crazy. Let him go." You know, like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And I thought it was really cool. We got a little glimpse. It's very Caligula-esque,
Oh,
the
yeah.
scene,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, just, yeah, we're just getting drunk and
Yep.
partying and doing all this
Partying it up.
other, yeah, doing all this stuff. Yeah, get him out of here. So Pilate offers the crowd the choice of freeing Jesus or the convicted murderer Barabbas.
Yeah.
When the crowd demands Barabbas be freed and Jesus be crucified, oh, I love the actor Pilate. When he hears the word
Dude, Pilate
crucified,
sold this.
he was like, crucifixion. He went,
Like,
what
th
did this man do? You know?
this whole sequence,
Yeah.
Pilate is doing such a good job of showing where he doesn't understand where these people are coming from. He doesn't get any of this. He's like, I don't like what could the whole time he's like, what could this man have possibly done to warrant this anger and this rage? And they're saying this or they're saying that, and they're like, oh, death, put him to death, blah, 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 all this stuff. So Pilate is like, okay, I think I got an out for him. Thing got an out. I'm gonna put up a murderer next to Jesus,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna let you choose. And in his mind, he's like, they're gonna choose to let Jesus go. And they're just like, no, let Barabbas go. And
Oh,
he's
yeah.
just like, what? What? And they're like, crucify him. And like you said, he's just like, what?
Mhm.
Like, it's such a good scene. Like to watch the actors work and then to watch the character and just see how like fast this has gotten out of control. And like he's almost like, I'm stuck. This was the out, and now I don't know what to do. Like, yeah, yeah.
So Pilate attempts to appease the crowd by ordering Jesus flogged, and he's
Mhm,
brutally scourged by the Roman guards. So we're going to talk about this scene now. So,
mhm,
um, I like what Gibson did with Pilate. Um, if because with him, he's struggling. He even
mhm.
says it, if I don't give the Jewish leaders what they want, there will be a rebellion.
Yeah,
But if I sentence Jesus to death, what will his followers do? Because
yeah. Oh,
Jesus had
yep,
many followers over the
yep.
years, thousands. So Pilate's stuck, and he would be blamed for whatever happened. And Lord forbid
Mhm.
Caesar finds out, because then you're
Yeah,
done. You're done at
yeah.
that point. So that's who everybody is under. Clearly, little history lesson. So let's talk about scourging here for a second. This was considered to be a brutal punishment.
Mhm.
Historically speaking, you could die from it if you are hit enough. And to avoid this, Jewish law set the limit at 40, so no more than 39. Um, I don't know how they got there, but
Yeah.
that's the number, historically speaking. And this is the most brutal scene in the whole movie. I can say that.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can hear the Romans insulting him in Latin, and they also counted in Latin as they struck him. No subtitles, by the way. So
Yeah, none.
we never
No
get to
subti
know.
it was to the point where I
Yeah,
was like, "Wait a minute, did my subtitles stop?" And I
no,
paused it, and I was like, "Oh, no, it's a choice." I had forgotten it's just
yeah,
a clear choice that we did not need to know what they were saying at this point.
exactly. So, Gibson once again took some liberties here. He did not adhere to the historical 39. They beat on Jesus for a while.
Brother,
I counted.
they
Well,
oh my
I think they
god.
did like 40 the first time, then they did 40 again, and then they did 40, like they just kept going.
Yeah, it oh
Yeah,
my
so
god, this
they wanted to make it seem more brutal, one round with the sticks, and then they brought out that's called a cat of nine tails, the whip,
good lord, dude.
with the hooks and everything like that. So this was wild. This was
Yeah, dude.
wild. We've seen this in movies over the years, but we didn't
Mhm.
see it like this. This was
No.
absolutely brutal. You see the crowd, you
Mhm.
see his mom, you see Mary Magdalene almost passing out, you see John the Beloved, the other disciple, you see um Gibson makes a choice. The Jewish priests, they walk away. They don't watch
Oh,
it.
yeah. They don't
They're
wanna
like
watch it.
they don't want to watch it, so they walk away. Um You see Satan there.
Yeah.
Satan's walking around. This was wild. Before I let you go here, Rick, I will say this. Apparently, in the Bible, they say that Jesus didn't make a sound when
Mhm.
this happened, which is really interesting. And all but one time where Jesus let out a yell, a gasp when the whip got him. He didn't talk at all
Mhm.
during this entire time. He just took it. He just took it. The only thing you heard from us were the grunts of him
Mhm.
getting beaten, and that was pretty much it. So I thought Gibson was, it was pretty cool what Gibson decided as far as that goes. So please,
Oh yeah.
Ricardo.
This when we were discussing doing this, and I said that this movie is a difficult watch, this was the scene that I was referring to.
Yeah.
Um, and it's because, and I told you this, the scene in itself, whether you are a person who practices religion, whether you're spiritual, whether you're agnostic, whether you're atheist, this is a scene in which you are merely watching a man be brutally tortured and beaten to near death, that it's upsetting for anybody watching, because you're watching an individual go through this type of pain. And I remember watching in the theater and like gripping my theater chair because it was just so brutal. And it's not like we haven't seen a horror in movies, or
Right.
torment in movies, and violence in movies, and blood. Like, look, man, we've all seen Tarantino movies, you know what I'm saying? Like, we've seen violence in movies, but this was a violence that was depicted against a man who was shackled and just repeatedly beaten while others find rejoice in it. And I feel that anybody who feels empathy, or anyone who is human, could see that and just feel like every negative emotion flowing through your body at one time. It's really difficult to
Well,
watch. And Mel went hard, dude.
Well, the
Like,
thing is, and we'll continue talking about this. The story of Jesus is a really interesting one because, well, biblically, it's biblical. It's
mhm,
in the Bible. It's a biblical story, but it's also a historical story as well. There are theologians and historians that have written
yeah,
about this story. They don't write about the divine stuff, obviously,
yeah,
but they've
yeah,
written that you know Jesus of Nazareth was a real person, and this
yeah,
actually happened to him. So that's the part where it kinda hits you like, "Man,
yeah,
regardless of what you believe, this guy really went through this," you know?
yeah.
So
And it's hard to stomach.
it's
Like,
hard.
I remember, people, like, you could feel people wincing,
Yeah.
and because Mel made a choice to go as violent as he did to show it. So for every lashing, you're seeing the skin peel open, and there's so much blood in this scene. And when the weapon comes into play, that what's it called? The weapon
Cat
that,
Cat of Nine Tails.
when
Yeah.
they bring that thing out, and they first have the soldier do it on a table, and you see it rip the wood, and you're just thinking, "Oh my god, like, they're not gonna do this." And they do it, and there's one shot in the movie
Yeah.
that stuck with me for years, and I'm sure many people. It's when it gets stuck in his side, and
Yeah.
he pulls, and it rips, and he lets out this sound. Jim Caviezel just lets out this sound, and Jesus just yells, and it in the score, and oh my god, dude, like, it knocks the air out of you. It's
And the
so
score swells again,
violent.
like, yeah,
Yeah,
they don't stop, they keep going.
it doesn't, dude.
So
It
at the
just
end, it's like
Oh my god.
metal and there's bone. There's
Yeah,
bone in there too,
yeah.
like, you look it
It's
up, it's
bad.
an old school torture device, yeah.
It's bad, and to the point where they even make a point to show you that the soldiers are exhausted. The
Yes.
soldiers are bent over, hands on their thighs and knees, and it's like they have just beat this man so badly that they are drained and exhausted, and there's blood hitting the soldiers in the face, and they're rubbing it in there, and it's like, dude, it's hard.
Yeah,
It's a
so
hard watch.
and up until then, Jesus has already been through a lot because he's been getting beaten,
Yeah.
he has a black eye at this point. They
Yeah,
didn't really
almost
sh
close shut, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't show it, but, it's been written that he had his beard and his hair pulled while
Mhm.
this was happening, and, it happened quite a few times where people spit on him, spit in his
Oh, yeah,
face
yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff
they
like
showed
that.
that a couple
They
times, yeah.
humiliated him like he went through the ringer before this even happened,
Yeah.
and, um, uh, yeah, it was nuts. It was absolutely
Yeah.
nuts.
This is probably one of the most controversial scenes in the movie that had people talking for so much because of how violent it was.
Yeah.
And Mel was like, "Nah, man, I'm gonna show you." Like
Yeah,
he did not hold back.
well, it's been said that it was very hard to get the rated R,
Oh
and
man, I believe it. I
I
believe
think
it.
this might have been the scene that they had to
Yeah, they
keep
cut.
cutting and cutting. Like,
Yeah.
there's were rumors that there was unrated NC-17, like,
I could see that, honestly.
yeah, that they couldn't do it, and obviously you know, to get the worldwide release, they need to edit it
Yeah.
down to rated R eventually,
Yeah.
so, um, that's as far as that goes, but, no, the scourging scene was wild. um Yeah, so let's continue here. We're gonna this is the second half of the scourging scene we're gonna talk about now,
Mhm.
because there's a lot to unpack during this scene
Yeah.
here. So we're gonna bring Satan up here again, and all right, and there's what scene I'm gonna bring up here. The very
Mhm.
odd, yeah.
Yeah.
So sorry,
The baby. Yup,
baby.
yup,
Yeah.
yup, yup,
Oh,
yup. With
I'm
the
sorry.
old man face,
I'm
just
so sorry. You guys have to look at that right now, but I have
and
to
it
show it.
and it's just to be unsettling. Like,
Correct.
that's all it is. Like, it's
Right.
Mel being Mel, making a choice to be like, what would be so unsettling in this moment to mock and torment? And he was like, "Here you go." And I was like, "Oh my
Right.
God."
So this is where we get the infamous creepy baby scene.
Mhm.
And hey, I'm gonna put that away. Bye. All right.
Yeah, I
So,
don't need to see that baby that's been working 45 hours a
yeah.
week. I don't need to see that.
So
Crazy.
apparently this has been interpreted as Satan mocking the Son of God.
Mhm.
So Satan is saying to God, well, you have your son, this
Mhm.
is my son.
Yeah.
And apparently, it we never really find out, but apparently it's well, actually no, we do. It's a little person that's in their
Yeah.
40s at the time.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is it's a grown man
Mhm.
that's, playing a baby. Let's talk about Satan for a little bit. We haven't talked about Satan for a little bit. So, pretty cool choice. Once again, I
Mhm.
hate saying the word cool, but there were some choices that Mel
Yeah,
made
there's
were like,
choices, yeah.
this is a woman with a
Mhm.
shaved head and the voice of a man.
Yeah.
And Mel said, "I didn't want Satan to have any gender in particular, so
Yeah.
I wanted Satan to be beautiful." By the way, that is biblical. They say
Yeah.
Lucifer was the most beautiful of all the
Beautiful angel.
angels.
Yep. Yep.
So, Mel wanted Lucifer to be beautiful, so what's more beautiful than the face of a woman?
Mhm.
But then I want to give Lucifer the voice of a man,
Yeah.
and that's how we got, Satan, and, oh, that actress, ooh,
Oh, yeah.
boy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude, her eyes could beam a hole through you, man. Like, yeah.
she was awesome. She was awesome. But and we've gotten some visuals here, like we had Satan with Jesus in the garden of
Mhm.
Gethsemane, and then, in the trial, almost as if Satan's the one whispering in the ears of the Jewish
Oh,
leaders,
yeah. Yeah.
Satan was the one that tempted Judas to go do this, and then torment him after the fact with all the demons. But now we have Satan rejoicing at Jesus's, demise here. Well, not demise, but Jesus's pain,
Yeah.
because, you know, Satan's, like, yeah, look at you. Are you the Messiah? Then come on, save yourself.
Yeah, a
Save
lot of
yourself.
that happened, yeah.
You're the Messiah. All right, fine. Yeah, just keep taking that beating. All right. Um, so we got a flashback here, another great biblical story. Flashback to Jesus washing the disciples' feet.
Mhm.
Um, Jesus says, "If the world hates you, remember that it hated me first. And if they persecuted me, they will persecute you, but know that a helper will come." Those of you that don't know, the helper is the Holy Spirit. That's the entity that Jesus is talking about. So, a little history lesson here. So, when during this time, people either had sandals or they walked barefoot.
Mhm.
The most unclean part of anyone's body is your feet
Defeat.
at the time. So, washing someone's feet was probably the biggest show of humility you could give to somebody. And the biblical story says that, you know, it might have been Peter, Lord, you're washing my feet. I should be the one washing yours. You know, you've done so much for us. You're the Messiah. Why are you washing my feet? You know, and it was just a story of, you know, Jesus saying, no, I'm here to serve you.
Yeah.
I've come to serve, you know. So it's a really great story. And, you know, so that you could be clean. And it's so funny. Well, then wash me all over, Lord, not just my
Yeah.
feet. You know, oh, it's such a great story. Such a great story. But that's why they put it here. And I like what Gibson does. It's to take a break, you know.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And it was needed.
Yeah, so we would always get these flashbacks to his teaching and such, which it didn't. I would have loved it if they had it more. You know,
Yeah.
unfortunately, that was a qualm to many people that didn't have enough of
Yes.
the teaching. You know, in the movie. So using cloths provided by Claudia, that's Pilate's wife, Mary the mother, and Mary Magdalene, they clean up his blood, where Mary Magdalene reminisces on Jesus saving her from a stoning. So let's get a little Monica Bellucci here.
Yeah. This was the scene.
Beautiful.
This is the scene that I was telling you about, that this is where they had a shot of Jesus where he kind of looks at her and he's got his hood up. He's got the
Yeah.
white cloak right here and the contact lens that they have for him. When he looks over, I was like, that's a painting. Like, it was so well shot. I was like, that is every painting you've ever seen. That's a painting.
Yeah, it's great. And Gibson did a lot to just showcase those contacts, because apparently Caviezel has blue eyes. So to be more historically accurate, he gave him brown contacts, but you know, Gibson would have the brown hazel, like a hazel hint almost. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the story of Mary Magdalene here. What a casting, man, Gibson. Whew. But
Oh, she's phenomenal.
yeah. So this is only a theory that often gets repeated. It's never been we never really know for sure, but Gibson put it in the movie because it's a common story here. So we can give Mary Magdalene some type of backstory. It's a visualizing how Jesus saved her, and then she ends up dedicating herself to following him. So the story in the Bible says that the people, it's usually the Pharisees and the Sadducees, the spiritual leaders. They're always trying to get Jesus to trip up because they hated what he was doing. They hated him. He was speaking against the traditions of Judaism, saying this is the new law, and they were like, what do you mean this is the new law?
Yeah.
No, this is the law. And but the odd part was, the reason why people follow Jesus is because he was making more sense than the spiritual leaders at the time, and that made them hate him even more.
Oh yeah.
So this was just one of the times where they tried to trip him up, and they threw this woman who, it's been reported that she's a prostitute.
Yeah.
And at the time, one of the most severe penalties you could have is being stoned for doing something. And you know, that's the penalty for this. So they throw her before Jesus. They said, "What say you, teacher? You know, the law says that, you know, she should be stoned. What do you say? What should be done about this woman?" And Jesus, if you see in the movie, you see Jesus goes like this in the sand. In this, it's such a great biblical story. In the story, he starts writing in the sand. And what he's doing is writing the sins of the people in the sand that are watching, so they could read it.
Yep.
And then he gets up and he says, "Let he is without sin cast the first stone." And they know he just wrote their sins in the sand.
They just drop the rocks.
Drop the rocks.
All right. Yep.
You know, and apologies, folks, for those of you like, why are you guys going? Listen, Rick and I, we have a big history in the church community, you know, raised and such. So this is why we know this stuff. But you know, it's a great, but Gibson visualized it, you know, and it's never really proven if this woman is Mary Magdalene or not, but a lot of people believe that it was her. So Gibson said, you know, let's do it. And, you know, she chose to follow him from here on out after this. And it's so cool that, that this was put in the movie too.
Yeah. And we need scenes like this in the movie because we do need a break after seeing some stuff. Like they kind of level us out a little bit.
Yeah. So the guards hurl insults at Jesus. They place a crown of thorns on his head. All hail the King of the Jews.
Yep.
They hit his head with a stick. This is all in the Bible.
Yeah.
This particular scene here. Pilate presents him to the crowd and Caiaphas, who all again demand that he be crucified. Unwilling to instigate unrest, Pilate orders Jesus' crucifixion, claiming no responsibility, and he literally washes his hands
Washes
of
his
it.
hands. Yep. Washes his hands.
Literally.
I want nothing to do with this. Washing my hands.
Wow.
Like, and he was not happy after he saw what had happened to Jesus. He's like, guys, what are we doing? Like, he's like, we asked to do this, and this man is beaten nearly to death. Like, what are we doing? And he brings him out to the people. He's like, look what we've done to him.
Right.
Like, this man has clearly been punished enough for whatever you believe, and they're still like crucifying. He's like, good God, man. And yeah, it was a great visual to actually see it. And he just washes his hands of it. He's like, nope, I'm done.
Yeah. So, and one of the leaders actually stopped the Roman leaders actually stopped them the beating because Pilate said to be a severe scourging, but not to
Yeah,
beat this
not
man to
that.
death.
Like, it
Yeah.
was
So
insane. Yeah.
he was mad. Clearly, once again, Pilate sells it. This actor, man, when he saw him once again, just no, that's not what I asked you to do. You went above and beyond. The accusers aren't satisfied. Obviously, they want him crucified. And we get flashbacks of the Last Supper. This was the last time Jesus sat and ate with the disciples. As Pilate washes his hands. They didn't put it in the movie, but this is the part where Jesus actually tells Peter, before the sun rises, before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times. And this is where he also says, one of you will betray me. And he says, it's whom I dip my cup with. And he dips the bread in front of Judas. And he says, go and do what you have to do. So
like it's
I
already
wish they would have showed it. That would have been really cool.
Oh, that would have been cool. That would have been cool.
Who knows? Maybe it was on the cutting room floor. So this is the part where we start Jesus the walk to Golgotha. This is Jesus carrying his heavy wooden cross. He embraces it, and you hear the people. He's embracing the cross. This is the thieves. What is you're going to die on that thing, and you're hugging it? Like, what is going on?
Like, what? Yeah.
Right. The 2 thieves here are Dismas and Gesmus. They follow behind. Along the way, he is harassed by the guards and the rampant mob, and is momentarily comforted by his mother. So, Gibson showed how heavy the cross was. Jesus was so weak from getting beaten beforehand and then scourged on top of that he drops it many times on the way. So, while walking, Jesus gets flashbacks of the triumphal entry into Jerusalem. This is what we celebrate as Palm Sunday, folks. So, it's celebrated the week before Easter, but it's a triumphal entry into Jerusalem where people were waving their palms and they were screaming, Hosanna. They were praising him just days before. Jesus was thinking about this. I was walking through this crowd and these people were praising me, and now they're cheering my death only a few days later. Very powerful visual there. Oh boy, this one got me. During one of the falls, Mary has a flashback of when Jesus fell as a child.
Oh my God!
I
would. Yep. That got me.
Yeah,
I was done.
You see her running toward him as a child, and it cuts with her running towards him as an adult on his way to that. She's running to him, and Mary says, "I'm here." And Jesus says, "See, mother, I make all things new."
Yeah.
And he gets back up, and you can almost see her help him back up. I'm getting choked up.
Yeah, dude.
It's powerful.
It's
a powerful scene.
I told you that obviously this is the first time I've seen it in so many years, and it was I was watching it with a different lens. This was the first time I've seen it as a parent, And when I forgot when they cut to seeing him fall as a child, that was it. I was
Yeah.
done because all I could think about is being a parent and you're running to your kid to
Yeah.
make sure they're okay, and now you're splicing it with watching what's happening to your
As
son
he's
now.
falling as an
Oh
adult.
my god! And it was so brutal. And she's just like helping him to his feet, and he delivers the line. Yeah, that scene rocked me again.
This is the first time she's been able to touch him since
Mhm.
everything started. She hasn't been close to him because he's like a prisoner. They're not gonna let him
Yeah.
come close, you know? Um, but she's running to him there as the flashback just
Yeah, the flashback hurt, dude. What That was a
what
great
a choice.
choice because I
Yeah.
oh man, like
Yeah, I'm
that hit.
I'm I think I cry almost every time I see
Yeah,
this part.
I've only seen the
Mm,
movie twice,
yeah.
and I yeah, it got me. It got me.
Yeah, so it's great. Um, and then the guards, they're like, "Who's that?" "That's his mother."
This is
You know,
mother.
they
Yeah,
put it
yeah.
oh, good job, Gibson.
And they keep doing this thing where you see the guards like momentarily. There's like a look on the guard's face
Yeah.
where it's almost doubt of what they're doing. So like, yeah, that point was like, oh, that's his mother, and there's kind of like this pause, and like you feel it.
An unwilling Simon of Cyrene is pressed with helping Jesus carry the cross to Golgotha. This is in the Bible as well. While well known, Gibson decided that even though Jesus was a well known figure at this time, clearly,
Hmm.
um, Gibson made a choice to say that Simon did not know who Jesus was.
Hmm.
And crucifixion was serious. So you don't want to be associated with anyone being crucified, let
Yeah,
alone someone helping them carry the cross. So he was like, "No, I don't want anything to do with
right
this.
out there. Yep, yep,
I don't want to help him. I don't want you're probably going to try to do something to me too. No, no,
yep.
no." They're like, "No, help him carry it, and then you can go." Okay, but just make sure I don't
And
know
he
this
let it be
guy.
known. Yep. He goes, I
Yeah,
don't know him. Da, 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 this, da, da, da. Like he put it out
right.
there.
Yeah, but crucifixion was pretty much the worst way you can die at the time. So
Yeah.
no one wants to be near this thing, to be associated with it. So we get another part here.
Hmm.
This is Jesus is helped by a woman who wipes his bloodied face with her veil, and a cup of water is offered to him, and then is quickly hid away as Jesus goes to drink it. The actress really sells this moment here. She's nice.
Yeah.
Her name is Veronica, and this is a Catholic thing here. Apparently, this is Veronica's veil, a relic of Saint Veronica,
Hmm.
and it's not necessarily in the Bible, but it's like a historical thing where apparently a woman offered Jesus her veil, and he wipes it, and apparently it was preserved,
Yeah.
and it's like a real thing, so to speak. So um, another thing, Gibson chose to put in the movie, but once again, another reprieve of what's happening. Veronica knows who Jesus is.
Hmm.
So, um, he was a very famous figure at the time. This was
Oh yeah.
what
Yeah.
Jesus was doing was a very big deal. So for people to get an audience with him, let alone a one-on-one moment, it was a
Hmm.
big deal, especially if you believe that he was the Messiah. So for her to be like, "Well, this is happening. I got to do something to help him,"
Yeah.
So she comes in and helps him. Nice moment. Simon sees the crowd and the Romans beating on Jesus, and he drops the cross at this point and he screams for them to stop. He threatens to stop carrying the cross if they don't stop beating on him. This was a very brave thing to do.
Yeah.
Uh, he says, "I don't care what you do to me.
Yeah.
I
He was
whatever.
done.
Yeah, like I don't know who this guy is, but he doesn't deserve this. He's walking to his death, and like no."
Yeah.
So they walk for a little bit more, and then we get a dramatic fall from Caviezel. He spins and falls
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
slow motion while Simon is holding the cross with one hand and holding
Yep.
Jesus's hand
Yep.
with the
With the
other.
other hand. Yep.
So good. Simon encourages Jesus just as he encouraged, just as Jesus himself encouraged so many people during his ministry. And Simon helps Jesus back up. So I thought there was a nice parallel here. Jesus
Yeah.
was always encouraging people, always trying to
Mhm.
speak some life into people. And in his worst moment, now we have this man, according to the story, that doesn't even know him. It's
Yeah.
like, listen, you got this.
Yeah.
I'm here with you. We're gonna keep going. Really cool visual
Yeah.
there.
He
Really
keeps
cool
telling
visual.
I don't remember the exact line, but he just got it's just a little further. Like he keeps telling me it's
Yeah, we're
just a little further.
almost
Like we're
there.
almost there. We're almost there. Like, yeah.
It was great. It was great,
Yeah.
and I liked what Gibson did because the Bible only speaks about these people just very briefly, if at
Mhm.
all. So Gibson was tasked with giving these people lines and context to the story. How would this man behave
Yeah.
if he'd seen what was happening to Jesus? If he was is he just gonna be heartless and
Yeah.
just carry it and not talk the whole time? Or is he gonna have empathy for this man,
Mhm.
as he's carrying the cross with him, So, once again, just, gave him a
Yep.
story. Like with Judas, he gave Judas a story I'd never heard
Yeah,
before.
dude, he gave them a lot. He gave them a lot of
So,
character, yeah.
yeah. So, we get a flashback of Jesus on the Sermon on the Mount. This is where a lot of his teachings come from. It's a really long passage in the Bible here. And we get a line here where it's Jesus preaching about praying for and loving your enemies. And he also talks about laying his own life down for his friends. Simon and Jesus share a final face to face moment before Simon is released.
Mhm.
So it's just kind of like, all right, you're here now. And they just kind of look at each other.
Yeah,
And 'cause Simon knows that this is that Jesus is going to his death. And it
mhm.
was all Jesus saying thank you to him.
Yeah.
And that's it. No more
Yeah,
Simon. He go.
yep, yep, time is gone.
Yeah. We get another flashback. Oh, I correct myself now. This is where Jesus speaks to the disciples at the Last Supper. This is the part where he's talking about laying his life down for his friends.
Mhm.
So, really nice stuff. We get another brutal scene here. This is the scene of the nails being driven into Jesus' hands and feet. And with each strike, you see Mary just flinching, the mom, with each
Yep.
strike. Mary Magdalene is losing it. I put this down here not to be funny, but Monica Bellucci's selling this like the rent is due.
Yeah, dude,
Sh
she's in it. She's
Monica
in it.
Bellucci is wailing at
Yep.
this point. She's been crying the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
He is wailing at this point, seeing Jesus go through this. There's a moment where Bellucci sits up and watches as the cross gets put into place. So they bang the nails,
Yep.
one side, the other. They dislocate his
They
arm once
dislocate
again.
his shoulder, dude, like,
Another creative decision that Gibson made,
ugh,
and then
just, yeah, yeah.
they nail the feet into place, and then they flip it over, you know, just to bang the nails so they don't come out of, and then they flip the crossover again. This is just to torture Jesus some more,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah.
Um, and Bellucci goes from weeping uncontrollably to being stoic. She's
Yep.
and she's now joined the mother who has become numb at this point.
Yeah.
And Mary stands and watches as well, numb, completely numb. John the Beloved watches too. They all have like this moment of quiet because they realize what's happening. He's going to die.
Yep.
At Golgotha, this is the place where Jesus died, Jesus and the two thieves. Jesus is crucified with Mary Magdalene, John, his mother, and all the other people watching. Jesus prays to God to forgive his tormentors who mock him for not being able to come down from the cross, while providing salvation to Dismas, crucified beside him for his faith and repentance, and comforts his mother.
I
So,
always remembered that scene, like,
yeah,
that like, even being as a kid
yeah,
and, because again, I grew up in a religious household, and always remember that story where, as a kid, they were like, there was one who would criticize and say, if you are who you say you are, get down, save
get down.
yourself, do this, like, do this, do that. And I remember as a kid, like, just remembering that. And then on the other hand, you had the one say, we deserve to be here.
Yeah,
We are being paid, we've been punished for our crimes. You do not. And when I've always remembered it, where he just like, just don't forget me when you're, in your, I don't remember the exact word, but just don't forget me when you're in your kingdom of paradise. And Jesus looks at him and gives him his word. And he goes, I promise you're going to be with me.
Great.
As a kid, as a kid, there are stories that come in the air, they come out the air. You're a kid, you know what I'm saying? But this was one of those stories that always stuck with me. Oh, always did.
It's great. And you bring up a good point, because the one thief was like, you're the son of God, and
Yeah, do
you're the
something.
Messiah. Come down from the
Come
cross,
down.
save
Get
yourself, and
down.
save us
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, save us. Yeah.
Let's get out of here. And then the other one scolds him. Um, the thief says, "Remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus says, "Today you will be with me in paradise."
Yep.
So
Yeah,
powerful.
it's
Always
such a
hits.
strong moment. Yeah, dude, like it's
Yeah.
such a strong moment. And again, I think as a kid, that's why it always stuck. And
Yeah.
I was like, wow. And it was also one of those things where it was like you had a criminal there who was clearly guilty of things, guilty of sin, whatever
Right.
the case may be. And in that moment, just for his true understanding and love and loyalty, and she was like, yo, man, I promise, brother,
Yep.
you gonna be with me.
So
Like, that was amazing. Like,
the
wow.
and the thing is that we've seen Easter movies, we've
Yeah.
seen made for TV movies, we've seen Easter plays, but this was the first time we were seeing this in the mid 2000s
Oh
with
yeah,
a
dude.
mid 2000s budget and a big name director like Mel
Big
Gibson.
director Mel Gibson.
So
Yep.
we're seeing these moments being brought to life on the big screen. It, it just brought
Yeah.
back a lot of memories, and
Yeah.
it hit us because of
Yeah.
the fact that we're seeing this on the big screen for the first time. The mother says, "My son, let me die with you." And Jesus says, "Woman, behold your son. Son, behold your mother." He's telling her, he's talking about John the Beloved. He
Mhm.
says, "That's your son, John. That's your mother." He's just
Yep.
like letting them know, like, listen, y'all have to comfort each other because I'm not going to be here much longer.
Yep.
So, um, while the prophecy was being fulfilled, this is still her son.
Yeah.
And Gibson drove that point across throughout the entire film. Um, she knows, according to the biblical story, she knows that this is going to be the Messiah
Yeah.
from the very first moment. But it's very different to know that and then to actually see it happen eventually.
Mhm.
You know? So, finally succumbing to his wounds, Jesus surrenders his spirit and dies. A single droplet of rain falls, triggering an earthquake. A supernatural event occurs,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
which damages the second temple and rips the veil covering the Holy of Holies. By the way, Jesus said this would happen before he died. To the horror of Caiaphas and the Pharisees. The guards seek to expedite the thieves' death by breaking their legs to suffocate them. And I'm going to explain that in a second. And upon seeing Jesus dead, Order Tribune Cassius spears Jesus in the side, just to be sure. So when you're being crucified, this is a historical lesson here. They nail your feet to the cross, and there's like
Mhm.
this little like plank thing,
Yeah.
but you're hanging because there's nails in your hands or in your.
Wrist. Yeah.
To breathe, you have to prop yourself up
Mhm.
and then inhale and breathe, and then you could come back down again. And because you're hanging. So if you broke the legs of the person on the cross, they're going to suffocate because now they can no longer push themselves off to breathe anymore.
Yeah.
So that's the significance of that. In the prophecy, it says not one bone will be broken. So
Mhm.
that's possibly why the guard never got to hit Jesus's legs.
Yeah.
And um, he speared him. And true to the biblical story, the Bible says blood and water flowed out of Jesus when he got, hit with the spear. And that's exactly what happened. Satan screams in defeat in the depths
Oh,
of hell.
yeah, this shot, man. It was like, oh man, Mel. Okay.
I'm gonna come back to that in a second here. Essentially, Satan knows what's coming.
Yeah.
So Satan tempted Jesus many times to save himself while he was still alive, not just in what we saw in the movie. Uh, there was another time in the Bible where, you know the story, Ricardo, where Satan tempts Jesus. It was when he was fasting for 40 days in the desert.
Yep.
He fast he tempted him 3 times.
Yep.
You know, bow down. He says, "Throw yourself down. The angels will catch you." You know, if you bow down to me, you know, like we can rule this whole, you know, and Jesus rebukes him all 3 times. But then Satan tempts him again throughout this entire ordeal. Like, you can save yourself, you know,
Yeah.
not necessarily in the Bible, but Gibson drove the point home that Satan wanted to continue tempting Jesus to not go through with the prophecy,
Mm-hmm.
because the prophecy states that he will die and rise again, thus completing the prophecy and proving that he is the Messiah come to save them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is why Gibson showed Satan defeated,
Yep.
because
Yeah.
now Satan knows, oh no, it's the I tried and I couldn't
Yep.
do it.
Couldn't do it.
So, you know, while Satan was rejoicing in Jesus' pain throughout the
Yeah.
entire film, seeing him die meant, oh no, it's actually going to
Yep.
happen.
It's actually gonna happen.
So I heavily edited this screenshot, folks, because I
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
what's to happen with getting flagged and such on YouTube. So you'll see a lot of black bars here, and I blurred
Mhm.
some of the blood and
Oh yeah.
such, but I want to show it at least a little bit here. Jesus's body is taken down from the cross, and we get the visual of Jesus being lowered into his mother's arms. John and Mary Magdalene still are there to comfort her, and we get a visual of the nails in the crown.
Yeah.
And Gibson was just big on, you know, powerful visuals, both literal and emotional. So, you know, we get this scene here. It's you know, when I get into the trivia later, it's like taken from a painting, and you know,
Yeah.
this gets our final shot here. We don't hear Cassius say it, but the man that hit Jesus with the spear in the Bible, he says, "Surely this man was the Son of God."
Yeah.
So,
Mel basically just has it in on the actor's face,
right,
like where he has that moment of realization, like, oh, but yeah, there's no dialogue.
yeah. So we get that visual there, and you know, Monica Bellucci just starts crying again. You know,
Yep.
it's nuts. But shout out to the actress that played the mom. At this point, she's just so numb. She doesn't know
Dude.
what to feel. Like. She just went through the worst thing a parent could ever go through. You
Yeah.
know, so that's our moment there. And I got one final screenshot for you here, folks. The only clean shot of Jesus I can give.
Yeah, right. That's it.
So
That's it.
yeah, it's the ending here. Here we go. So we get I don't want to call it a happy ending, but we do get a
It's
a
it's the hopeful ending. Yeah,
optimistic. Yeah,
optimistic.
yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So Jesus is entombed, and 3 days later, as the story goes, he rises from the dead and exits the tomb. You see the things that he was wrapped in, just
Yep.
he transferred himself
Yep.
spiritually, and yeah, we get the visual. You get to see the hazel eyes here, the
Oh
brown
yeah.
eyes, and he's all healed up. Um, and you see him stand up, and you see the holes.
The holes.
Yeah,
Yep. They made
which
sure they put that in there. Yep.
when in the biblical story, that becomes a big part,
Yeah, he
of
shows
him.
them. He shows them the holes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thomas says, "I don't believe it." Well, put your hands here. Put your hands on
Yep.
my side, and
Yep.
then tell me that it's not me.
Yep.
So I'm really glad that Gibson at least visualized that a little bit. That's our movie.
Jeez, my God,
That
man.
that is our movie. So you touched on it a little bit. I'll speak for now. Um, my initial thoughts when I
Mhm.
first saw it, I couldn't believe what I saw.
Yeah.
Um, at the time, I was just now getting more into film. I
Mhm.
liked movies and I liked watching movies, and we all have our favorites from over the
Yeah.
years. But this was where I was really starting to get into film. I was pursuing acting in college and such. So this was just a big moment for me, just seeing this. And being that I was raised in the church, I had never thought about playing Jesus.
Mhm.
I've had long hair for most of my life. I've had it short, but mostly long, over the years. And I'll never forget it. I said to myself, I have to play Jesus. I
Mhm.
want to play Jesus now, like I got to do this. And it was just such an emotional experience. There was a lot of crying in the movie, from
Oh,
the people
yeah.
around me. I cried, I saw it a few times that weekend. And after that weekend, I just remember like, I have to play. I've been inspired, I
Mhm.
wanna play Jesus now, and those of you that know us outside of this, I actually did get to play Jesus eventually. I played Jesus in an Easter play, and I would continue to go on playing Jesus, many
Mhm.
years, in many plays over the years. I started cosplaying as Jesus, like, playing Jesus has been a really big part of my life over the years, but it started with watching this movie. Even though I've seen movies, I've seen plays over the years, this was the movie that actually made me want to play Jesus. So there we go.
Yeah,
You got a little bit of a backstory there. So, um, and this was just it was a historic event,
it
and
was.
it not only in the church community because this was wild. You had pastors and church leaders and priests and people speaking from the front of the congregations telling people to go see this movie,
Mhm.
and to support Mel Gibson and what he was doing because essentially this was the gospel
Yeah,
being preached, but on film, you
yeah.
know,
In a
and
major motion picture,
in
like,
a
yeah.
major motion picture. This ain't no made to TV. This isn't a
Mhm.
straight to DVD, straight to VHS, straight to, TV, anything like that. No, this is a major motion picture. Um, with I mean, it could be still done like one or two things,
Mhm.
up until this point, but it was Mel Gibson, the name of
Yeah.
Mel Gibson,
Mel's
dude.
name is what sold this movie.
This was an event film,
It
plain and
was, dude.
simple. It was
Yeah.
an event film, and Um, for me, it just hit. It just
Yeah.
hit, and it was a source of conversation that year too. If you
Yes.
met somebody else, whether they were a person of the faith or not, "What did you think of The Passion?" We called it The
Yeah.
Passion,
Yeah.
and to this day, when we talk to one another, it just elicits that response, you
Mhm.
know? "Hey, have you ever seen The Passion of the Christ?" And you
Yeah.
always get this, like, answer, it's
Yeah.
different for
Yeah.
everybody, So, Ricardo, you already told us your initial thoughts, coming out of the theater. Do you have any other stories from that year that you saw it and, you know
I remember, like you mentioned, it was a huge talking point, and that's why I felt like an event film. It's no different, in my opinion, when you had a giant event film of, like, Avengers Endgame, where you just felt like everybody was talking about it, right? Like these big event films, the release of the Snyder Cut, big event film. This felt like that in the sense where everyone was talking about it. What was your reaction? Do you agree with this take? Do you like the additions that Mel added? Like there was just so much to talk about. And again, there were church groups talking about it, and
Yeah,
then you had people that were just movie lovers, which is why I brought up the fact that, like, whether you are religious, spiritual, agnostic, or atheist, as a movie, it's a great talking point just as a movie. And Mel swung for the fences with it, man. He didn't hold back. And I just remember getting so many different interpretations from different people and what they took away from it. I remember watching it being emotionally just drained because, like I told you, it feels like it's almost the final act of a saga, right? Like,
yeah,
because the whole movie just feels like a final act because it's just constant, 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 constant. You know what I mean? And we get little breaks, but it's constant and it grips you the entire time. And I know people that still have to this day have not seen it because they've seen a couple minutes and they can't do it. Like it's too much. It's just too much. They're like, the violence is too much, whatever the case may be. They're like, nope, I know it. I don't need to visualize it. And um, some people felt like it rejuvenated their faith to a degree because it's one thing to read it, but now they visualized it in a way that they never had before. So for many people, they walked away from that going like, whoa, like I've read it, but to see it did something. And I heard that from many people that it did
yeah,
something to them because they saw it. Now
right.
it's like, wait a minute, I've seen it. And again, it's like reading in general, right? When people read, they give their own voices to the characters, they give their own visuals, their own little bit of storytelling. And when you see it, sometimes when people watch a movie, they go, "Oh, it doesn't live up to the book," or vice versa, whatever. But when people watch this, they're like, "Oh wow, like it's even more heart-wrenching than what they've read," and it moves something in them. And it was an experience, it was an event film, and it was a movie that everybody was watching. Again, like everybody was running to the theater to see this thing.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. For a lot of people, it challenged their faith,
Yeah.
because we've all know the story,
Mhm.
but if you look at the story of Jesus, it's a lot, right? It's Mary getting
Mhm.
told like you're going to conceive, and well, I've never been with anybody before. How's that possible? And she has to run it. Like, it's so gripping, the way that the
Mhm.
story's written, and then he starts growing up, and then all the teaching happens, and then he dies. But that's usually in the last half hour to hour of
Yeah,
whatever
that's the
movie
end.
you're right,
Yeah.
or whatever play you're watching. It's usually in the last half hour if it's a play, if that. you know Mel Gibson made like a 2-hour movie out of
2 hours
it.
of just that, man. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so Um, let's talk a little bit about the box office and the Oscars here. Yes, the Oscars.
Ooh.
So the budget was 30 million
Yeah.
at the time, 30 million in 2004, and it went on to make. I'm going to say two numbers here: 370 million domestic, 370.2 to be exact, and worldwide 612 million.1. And at the time of its release, this was the highest grossing rated R film at the domestic box office,
Yep.
surpassing The Matrix Reloaded, which Monica Bellucci was in the year before. It held this record for 20 years
Yeah.
until it finally was surpassed by Deadpool and Wolverine in 2024.
Yep.
Um, After adjusting for inflation, this is the fifth highest grossing rated R movie after The Exorcist, The Godfather, Beverly Hills Cop, and Blazing Saddles. So, um, just a lot of records as far as being rated R
Yeah.
and such. And I think that is pretty cool. It held the record for being the
Oh, yeah,
highest
dude.
grossing domestic rated R movie of all time for 20 years. Like,
I remember
that's
having
nuts.
conversations with people about that, where they were like, "Oh, you think this movie's gonna do well?" And I was like, "Brother, it's not beating The Passion," because for a rated R film, that's hard to do. It's just really
Yeah.
hard to do. And I remember they were like, "Oh, this new rated R movie's out. It's gonna be big." And I'm like, "I don't think it's gonna beat The Passion, brother." I was like, "The Passion had a huge box office return."
Yeah. Yeah. Now, worldwide, others have done it, obviously,
Mhm.
but it was domestic,
Domestic, yeah.
domestic. Yeah. Because the Joker infamously
Yep.
rated R went on to make 1 billion worldwide. So
Mhm.
worldwide wasn't the question. It was like domestic. Is it ever going to be domestic? And it finally, Deadpool and Wolverine, it finally happened there. So let's take a look at these Oscar nominations and the snubs as well, because I got to talk about that.
Mhm.
So it was nominated for Best Cinematography, Best
Oh,
Makeup, and
so good cinematography,
Best
man.
Score. So that's it. This movie was not received well critically.
No, at
So
all.
Hollywood hated this movie. Um, well, mixed reactions, but
Yeah.
mostly just negative because there was no hope.
Yeah, people
People
thought it
felt,
was too much of a downer. I read
yeah.
that.
People said that Mel Gibson made a snuff film.
Yeah.
They said this was an anti-Semitic film
Mhm.
because they felt that Gibson, a renounced a an an outspoken Catholic
Mhm.
at the time anyway, they felt that he laid it on thick as far as the Jewish people deciding Jesus' death,
Yeah.
even though it's in biblically, it's in there.
Mhm.
Um, a little religious lesson, folks. Jewish people don't follow the New Testament; they only follow the Old Testament. But even though it's in the context that the Jewish people decided,
Yeah.
they feel like they laid it on thick, you
Yeah.
know? So, there was a lot of reason why, there were people that hate watch this.
Oh, yeah, man. Look, man, like, as I was reading the reviews, I told you I was shocked to learn because I did not recall, I didn't remember, it was so long ago. that I was taken back with how negative the reaction was from critics. Obviously, if you go look at the audience score, it's much higher, but the critics were not about it. And as you mentioned, some called it a snuff film. Some just thought it was too much of a downer, and they brought up like, oh, they wanted more of the teaching, which we had talked about earlier. Some people were like, oh, it would have been really great and more optimistic and hopeful to be show more of his teachings. And that's why I said to you, like, it almost felt like the movie was a third act. It just felt like, no, you're getting the end of the story to show everything he endured. And for whatever reason, Mel wanted to focus on that. He wanted to focus on everything that Jesus endured. And through nonlinear storytelling, we get these flashbacks to show little sequences here and there for a little hope and optimism. But other than that, it was very much on the downside. And for many people, it's hard to watch. Like, again, that's why I said, like, whether you are religious, spiritual, agnostic, or atheist, for many people, it's just hard to watch a man be brutally tortured for 2 hours. Like, that's hard to do. So for many of them, they're like, oh, like, is there an upside to this? Like, to them, they're like, what do we, and again, you get that ending, that hopeful optimism. But for many people, it wasn't enough. They were just like, oh no, like, it's too much of a downer. So for many people, that was the big controversy, was that, is it too violent? That was spoken up a lot.
So I feel like a lot of the actors could have been nominated too. I feel Jim Caviezel was snubbed. He could have been nominated for Best Actor, in my opinion.
Great performance.
Yeah, amazing. His best, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen him in a handful of things, but it's his best performance. He's
Yeah.
I don't see Jim Caviezel. I see Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Like he was doing, like, obviously he's not speaking English in the movie.
Right.
To many people, like, I hate that. Like, some people, when it comes to other cultures and things of that nature, like, they get turned off at the idea of subtitles. I don't see the issue with subtitles. But like, he does a lot of eye acting too, man. Like, some really great acting without saying a word, and that's hard to do. And he just did such a great job with it. So yeah, I would argue that I've seen Jim Caviezel in plenty of things. I'm like, no, this is his role to date. Like, when you think of, like, oh, what's Jim Caviezel's best role? Is it Brothers, when he played Jesus? Like, his name's Jim. The running joke was that his name was Jim Caviezel, JC, Jesus Christ. They're like, oh yeah, like, that was the running joke. But yeah.
And I also feel like the mom, Mary, the mother, probably could have gotten a nomination as well. Yeah. Like, this film could have been recognized a lot more by not just the Academy, but the other ones. The SAGs, the Golden Globes, the Critics' Choice, the BAFTAs. They all could have recognized this film a lot more.
I'm surprised that it wasn't, and I'm only mentioning this now because we're talking about, like, the actors and whatnot. This must have been an incredibly hard and difficult shoot as an actor, because there's no levity. It's all down. Like, Monica Bellucci, like you mentioned, has to be heartbroken this entire movie.
Yeah.
Her entire job on this production is to just be heartbroken and shattered and everything else. And it's like, guys, that's hard to do. Like, that's extremely heavy. So it is somewhat shocking that there wasn't more recognition for the performances. That it was.
Yeah. One moment here.
All right.
All right, I'm looking. I see one Critics' Choice Award. It was nominated for Best Popular Movie.
Okay.
I don't see no Golden Globe, no SAG, no BAFTA.
Wow.
That's
nothing.
Yeah. So let's take a look at some trivia here. Jim Caviezel went through a lot of different things.
Yeah, dude, he went through some stuff.
Yeah. So he was accidentally whipped twice. One of which left a 14-inch scar on his back. He actually dislocated his shoulder from the weight of the cross.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's embellishing here or not, but he said he was struck by lightning.
Yeah, he said that.
Yeah, he said once from the Sermon on the Mount and once while he was actually on the cross. He said his hair caught on fire, but he said nothing happened to him. So, interesting story. The scenes of him hanging of the cross, it was really cold, like 25 degrees Fahrenheit.
Ooh, that's cold.
So apparently he got hypothermia and a pneumonia because of how
Oh my
cold it
god.
was. And one final thing here, the makeup that was used to create a swollen eye, and because of his depth perception to look out of it, it gave him
Mhm.
migraines.
Yeah.
So he went through a lot there.
Yeah, yeah, your boy went through it.
There there's a funny story actually. He actually cursed at the person that hit him accidentally.
Oh my god. Can you
Yeah.
imagine Jim Caviezel dressed as Jesus Christ
Yeah.
and just popping off at the lip, just cussing out the guy to hit him?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
So, Mel Gibson has some cameos in this movie.
Okay.
His hands nailed Jesus to the cross during the crucifixion scene rather. Um, he said that, um, as a spiritual thing, he says, "It was me that put him on that cross. It was my sins that put him there. So I wanted to physically do it, in the
Yeah.
movie as well." Um, he said that, uh, his feet were the feet of Jesus, during a Mary Magdalene scene.
Mhm.
His arms tied Judas's rope, and also, apparently, the scene where Jesus draws in the sand,
Mhm.
apparently that's Mel Gibson too.
Okay.
So, Jim Caviezel was going to turn down this role until a friend pointed out to him that he had the same initials as Jesus Christ,
Yup, yup.
and he would also be 33, the
33
age
years
of
old.
Jesus
Yep.
when he died, at the time of filming, so that's a funny story there. According to Mel Gibson, the long shot of Jesus lying in Mary's arms after having been taken down from the cross was greatly inspired by Michelangelo's famous statue La Pieta, a
Mhm.
work of art that inspired many of the depictions of the scene.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
of you that have watched
Yeah.
Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice,
Yep.
Zach does this at the end of the
Yes, he
movie.
does. Yep.
He does this at the end of the movie, and we talked
You
about that.
wanna If you wanna get sweaty, there's 3 crosses in the background.
They are.
You wanna get sweaty, bro. Like Zach is an artist,
Yeah.
and he pays homage to things in the past and, um, religious iconography, and, like, I remember they're bringing Superman down, I was like, "That looks awfully familiar," and then there was 3 crosses, I was like, "I see you, Zach. I see
Yeah.
you."
Yeah, it's great, and, if you wanna hear us talk about that, check out our breakdown of Batman v
Yeah.
Superman: Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition. So,
Oh, yeah.
here we go. The 7 major film studios as follows: 20th Century Fox, Columbia Pictures, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, Paramount Pictures, Universal Pictures, Walt Disney Pictures, and Warner Brothers all refused to finance the film due to its
Sheesh.
controversial
Yeah,
subject matter.
I'm telling you.
So it was a miracle that he got Lionsgate to do this for him. It was a
Yeah.
miracle. I wanted to add in one thing here before we continue forward. We talked about Zach just now, so we got to get a little sweaty about Zach.
Mhm.
Um, if we talked about this off the air, watching it, if somebody watched this not knowing Mel Gibson directed it, you would almost say Zack Snyder directed this movie.
Bro, because the cinematography, man, like some of the
Yeah.
shots look like that of a painting, and that's how Zach visualize and shoots. It looks like stuff from a painting because Zach is a painter as
Yeah.
well. So, like, there's some of the shots I'm like, man, and again, like from the score to the downright violence of the movie. Like, if someone told you that, you'd be like, yeah, I could kind of see that.
Slow motion,
Slow motion, yeah, like that,
yeah,
yeah.
score, I
Oh,
like, if
dude, the
you
score's
listen,
so good.
300 came out a few years later,
Yeah.
so it sounded really similar. I would be curious to hear how Zach felt about this movie because a lot of he made his debut that year in '04 with Dawn of the Dead.
Mhm.
So his major film debut. So I'd be curious to see what Zach felt about this movie because of how,
Yeah.
um, the imagery, in this
Yeah.
movie. And
Right.
then, and Zach, for his DC movies would go on to lean into that spiritual,
Mhm.
Jesus imagery for Superman,
Yeah.
so I'd be curious to hear how Zach felt about this movie, especially since we feel like it kind of looks like it could have been made by him,
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like a couple times I'm like, oh man.
Yeah. So let's give a shout out to the cast here. We have Jim Caviezel as Jesus. We have Maya Morgenstern as Mary, Mother of Jesus. Christo Yukov as John the Beloved. Francesco DeVito as Peter. Monica Bellucci as Mary Magdalene. Mattia Sabraglia as Caiaphas. We have Luca Leonello as Judas Iscariot. Christo Namov Shapov as Pontius Pilate. Claudia Gerini as Claudia Procles. And we have Rosalinda Celentano as Satan, and Francesco De Francesco as the male voice of Satan. Two people there.
Yeah.
Great standout. So he employed a mostly foreign cast, which is awesome.
Yeah, dude, that's great.
He employed a foreign cast. You know, they had to speak Aramaic.
Yep.
They were either going to speak Aramaic, Latin, or Hebrew.
Or
You know,
Hebrew, yeah.
Aramaic was the main language of the movie. So obviously, shout out to the mother. Shout out to Monica Bellucci.
Yeah, dude.
Just she was everywhere at the time. You know, she had Matrix Reloaded. She had The Passion. Then she had Matrix Revolutions. It was just this, and then she went to Shoot 'em Up like a few years later after that.
Oh
Like,
yeah, Shoot 'em
she
Up,
was
man. I
making
remember that with
movies.
Clive Owen. Yeah,
Like she was already a big star in Italy, but this was her
yeah.
making American movies. And I remember there was a funny story where I think Gibson said he was trying to get her to look not pretty, for a lack of a better word. Like
Yeah.
she was going through it.
Yeah.
And he said that she threw dirt on her face. Am I still pretty? And he
Yeah.
was like, she's beautiful. There's like nothing
Yeah,
you can do.
like she's gorgeous, man.
Yeah,
She's
yeah, yeah.
absolutely stunning. Yeah.
But just an inspired casting, in my opinion. Just the softness of her voice. It lent to the role of Mary Magdalene
It
even
did.
more,
It
you
did.
know, and just following Jesus, you know. When Jesus died, this is in the Bible, there were only 3 people that still stayed: his mother, John the Beloved, the one disciple, and
Mhm.
Mary Magdalene. That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
So, I'm really glad that Monica Bellucci got to, you know, play this role here. Um, I said the mother, I gave a shout out to her. She was absolutely amazing. She was awesome. She could have been nominated, in my
Oh yeah.
opinion. And shout out to Rosalinda, the woman that played Satan. She was awesome.
Dude, I'm
Awesome,
telling you,
awesome.
the eye acting she
Yeah.
was given was great.
I'm I'm glad she got to be in it, and I think it was cool that Gibson, you know, he went with the voice of the man just to kinda
Mhm.
make Satan non-binary, so to speak.
Yeah.
I'm curious what she would have done with it, though, you
Oh,
know?
yeah, that's always interesting when you go, "Oh, I wonder what she would have done with the role given the opportunity to
Yeah,
do the dialogue." That's always
yeah.
interesting to think
Now,
about.
apparently she does, but you can't tell between her and the man. Apparently,
Okay.
that's what they say, that she has a few lines here and there, but I would have liked it if she got to do the whole thing. So,
Oh, yeah.
because just seeing the way that she, you know, just went about the role, I thought that was really cool. But let's come back. Let's not gloss over the fact. Shout out to Jim Caviezel. This was the performance of a lifetime.
Yeah, man, this was his performance, yeah.
Sorry to those of you that, you know, liked him in Person of Interest or, you know, is it Frequency,
Frequency with Dennis Quaid, bro, heck
you
yeah.
know, or whatever else you saw Jim Caviezel in. This was the role of a lifetime.
You know
I'm
what I mean?
sorry.
Like, he was doing Angel Eyes with Jennifer Lopez, he was doing
Yeah,
Frequency, which I enjoy. He's in his other movies, but nah, this was the big one. This was the big one.
exactly. And apparently Jim said that it was hard for him to be cast after this movie. He was scared to do it.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
then after the fact, it ended up happening. You know, he was kind of semi blacklisted for a little bit before
Yeah.
he started getting work again because of how controversial this movie was. Um, so we're going to start winding down with our closing thoughts now. And I just said the word controversial. Like, this is a controversial movie to this day.
Yeah.
You know, it's because of how brutal it was, because it was the depiction of Jesus. We've never seen anything like this before, and we've never seen
Nope.
anything like it since. No one's
Nope.
gonna dare do it again, you know,
Nope.
because you're not going to do it. We've seen other portrayals of Jesus, of course.
Yes.
Um, you know, shout out to those of you that love the TV show, The Chosen, you know, very
Mhm.
popular TV show. We've seen this story, but as far as this depiction of the death of Jesus, the crucifixion of Jesus, it's not going to happen again, in my
No,
opinion.
no, not like that. No.
Yeah. This was an event film. It was a worldwide event. It was not only a film event, it was a historical event.
Yeah.
You know, people that were of faith and not of faith saw this movie,
Yeah.
and it was a talking point both in and outside of the church community
Hmm.
for that entire year. And it came back again. When the Oscars came back around, people were actually shocked,
Yeah.
despite the mixed reviews. People were shocked of how it was snubbed at the awards show
Yeah.
uh, and such. Your thoughts, Ricardo? We're looking at over 20 years later, as far as the impact of this film.
It's still such an impactful watch, especially for me, to just watch it again from the new lens as a parent and having those scenes hit differently. But just remembering, ah man, it's so interesting, right? Like we have experiences with movies where you just their core memories, they're never gonna go away. And everyone has a movie or a few movies where that happens. And I feel like this is one of those movies. This is that movie for a lot of people where they remember being there in the theater. They remember who they watched it with. They remember the conversations they had after. They remember the effect it had on them. You know, it's not a movie that you watch and just kind of went home and was like, all right, yeah, saw that movie. Now let's put something else on. Like it stuck with you. I remember buying the soundtrack. I bought the score just so I could listen to it on my drives and just remember the movie, just like remember the sequences, the scenes in which they played, and be moved by the score and soundtrack. And it's just one of those movies that it'll stand a test of time. It will. Like no matter when you watch it, like it doesn't feel aged. Like I'm watching it in 2026. At no point I'm like, man, this movie feels aged. Like, no, like it's done in such a way that it will stand the test of time. And I think that anybody who takes an opportunity to watch it and to really just see what the movie is, it's just like, man, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's impactful. I understand the controversy. I do, because again, I know people who still won't watch it because of that,
Right.
because of that controversy. They won't watch it. Again, my mother's one of those people. She's like, nope, not gonna do it. You know what I mean? Just not gonna do it because I think they went too far. One of those things. She's like, yeah, I think he went too far. I saw a clip that's too much. Nah, you know. And then you have other people think that, like you said, like it went over the line, you know, if you will. But I'm glad I'm glad I watched it, man. I'm glad I watched it again. And it was a movie that I was planning to never see again. Like I had no desire to ever watch it again just because, you know, of the subject matter and I just the memory I had of it was just so impactful. I was like, I don't want to go down that road again because man, it hurt. Like it was just like a painful. Like I texted you, I said, bro, this is a hard watch. I was like, this is really hard to watch, man. Like this is hard to watch. But I'm glad. I'm glad that
Yeah.
I've seen it again. I'm absolutely happy that I've seen it again now in 2026.
Yeah, and I told you this off the air. It was so because people feel like Gibson went too far,
Yeah,
but historically speaking, not biblically, but historically speaking, apparently Jesus was beaten and tortured so bad that he was unrecognizable. And
yeah,
that's what Gibson wanted to do
yep. And that's
with
what he
this
did.
film. He wanted to show how brutal it was. So for the people that felt it was too far, it was like Gibson was like, "No, I'm actually showing you what happened in my
Yeah,
not in my opinion, historically speaking, this is what the history books say, not just
yeah,
the Bible." Um, at the time, Pope John Paul, one of the producers said that the Pope saw it and he said, "It is as it was."
yeah,
When asked, "How do you feel about the movie? Do you feel like it went too far?" It is as it was. Like what a
yeah,
powerful statement for the
yeah,
Pope to make, about a very controversial movie and much talked about movie at the time. But it's been rumored for many years that,
yeah,
we would get a sequel. It's
yep,
been rumored. Like, when are we going to get the follow up? Are we ever going to get a prequel with all the teaching? Like,
yeah,
Gibson has directed movies over the years. He's been in movies over the years. He's gotten into trouble and
yeah,
such. And for one reason or another, and I'm sure Gibson will say this once the follow up comes out. Um, It didn't get made, you know?
yeah,
No follow-ups were made until now.
yep.
So, we have The Resurrection of the Christ, Part 1, planned for March the 26th of 2027,
Mm-hmm.
and The Resurrection of the Christ, Part 2, for May the 6th of 2027. So, he's filming both parts in one
Yep.
and then releasing it. 40 days apart. The first one's going to coincide with Easter 2027. And the second part's going to coincide with Ascension Day. According to the Bible, that's when Jesus went back up into heaven. So, 2 movies. Ricardo and I touched on this a little bit off the air. And, I'm looking forward to this because it's going to be big. It's going to be huge. It's Mel Gibson coming back to this. The U.S. has changed quite a bit since then. The world has changed quite a bit since then.
It's very different now.
It's going to be unique to see what Gibson's going to bring to the table this time around. All the actors have aged out of the role. Or they've just said,
they don't want,
they're not going to do it. And I mean, let's be honest here. It's as of this recording, it's 2026. We're at 22 years, So for one reason or another, Gibson just going with a brand new cast all the way down the line. It's going to be Lionsgate. Doing both, and he's gonna do what he needs to do by filming as much as he can, and maybe we'll get those flashbacks of before Jesus died, all the teaching, because there's plenty of teaching from after he came back. But biblically speaking, there's going to be a lot in there that Gibson can touch on. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I'm going to be there.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna watch it. I'm like, yo, like you said, we've been waiting for so many years and it just never happened. And you're like, oh, it's unfortunate. And now they're gonna finally make it happen. And you're like, well, how are you gonna do it so many years after? And recast it. And yeah, like we talked about off the air, like the world is in a very different place when it comes to religion and the political climate. Like everything's so different. And I'm curious how that movie works in today's day. I still think it's going to do relatively well and be a big event. I'm just curious what the response is going to be.
Yeah, because let's just put this out there. Regardless of what you believe, Jesus is the most recognizable figure in Western culture. It is what it is, regardless of what you believe faith-wise. The most recognizable symbol, not only in Western culture, but in the world, is the cross.
It's the cross.
People know what the cross means. So I believe that we might get another one. We might get another event, if I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe it was lightning in a bottle and maybe it'll just be another movie. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But I don't think when you attach Jesus to a project and it's a major motion picture that people are just going to gloss over it. That's just me.
No. Yeah.
So, but Ricardo, thank you for watching this movie again for the first time.
Yeah, I was scared, brother. I was scared to do it again, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah, it's okay. But that was our breakdown, folks. Wanted to thank you for tuning in to the Panel Bros official breakdown for the Passion of the Christ. If you could please give us a like, share, and subscribe at the Panel Bros on YouTube. We would appreciate it. Also, if you could let us know in the comments below how you felt about the Passion of the Christ. Let us know what your viewing experience was like. Are you looking forward to Gibson's follow-up? Please let us know in the comments below. As always, your interactions with the channel does help our reach. Folks, this was episode 95 for the Panel Bros. We are getting closer.
100, baby.
100th episode. We have something special planned for you. Please stay tuned. But in the meantime, this is Anderson Marchak for Ricardo Segarra saying thank you for coming to the panel.